You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you?
It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, isn't it?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities, Wednesday, February 25th. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you are, however you may be checking out the show today. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for that. If you're live with us, that's awesome. Make sure you're partaking in the chat that we have going on right now. We do it each and every show. More and more people hopping on there. Great way to chat with guests, ask questions, complain, argue, all those kind of things. So make sure you're doing that as well. If you have subscribed, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please do so ASAP and tell some friends. We are officially to 1,500 subscribers. All that means is I want to get to 2,000. So it just pushes the bar even further. So make sure you spread the word about what we're doing each and every weekday off the air with Matt Randazzo. We're also live on X. X is always very, very good to us. So if you're checking us out on X, thank you for that as well. You can check out today's show, all of the shows on all the podcasting platforms. Anywhere you get your podcasts, type in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show, whether you're running kids around or working out or whatever it may be. You can check out the show that way as well. And then also, welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa as well. The show is on every weekday evening at 7 p.m. on the WHO streaming app. So thank you guys for watching and supporting the show there as well. It has been a very fun week. I kind of say that all the time, but it's a great time of year. College basketball is hitting the stretch run. High school basketball is in the stretch run and in the postseason phase of things, and so many more things going on. The combine getting going in the NFL. So many different things going on. So it's been a fun week and will continue to be a fun week. If you missed Monday's show, Kyle Huseman was on talking about the Iowa women and their big victory, their big week last week, getting, 3 victories in 7 days and all of those kind of things. So Kyle was on. We also celebrated and honored Father Marabelli, a longtime fixture at Alleman High School and here in the Quad Cities. Larry Schulte, Pat Rangel, and John Marks joined me to do that. That was a lot of fun, very, very therapeutic to the soul, if you will. And then the Makokata girls joined us on that day as well. They're heading to state next week as well. Yesterday, Tom Kakert, Dan Knight, and Mark Chizino, legends for Bettendorf Wrestling, stepping down after 20 years. Awesome conversation with them. And the Mediapolis girls joined us as well. Today's show, we got Tyler Tachman coming up in just a matter of moments. Talk a little Iowa basketball. Big game tonight at Carver Hawkeye. I can get people off my chest a little bit or off my back, I guess, because I am going to Carver Hawkeye tonight. I'm excited to get up there. Haven't been to a game since the Illinois game, so a big game for Iowa. We'll talk about that, a little Iowa women's basketball with Tyler as well. Maybe some football recruiting, college basketball in general. So Tyler coming up in a little bit. Also, Galesburg girls are in the Sweet 16. They won a fantastic game last night. Their head coach, Lexi Demott, will join us coming up a little bit later on in hour number 1. Central DeWitt heading to state for the ladies in Iowa. Their head coach, Ron O'Brien, joining us in the second hour of the show. And then last but not least, my good friend Scott Weas had his last day at WQAD yesterday, getting out of the business. One of the best photographers, videographers, whatever, news minds that I've ever been around. Obviously a dear friend of mine. But any story that I got to do that was worth a damn, like Weasy was there helping me with it. Not even helping me, but carrying me through it. So we'll talk a little Weasy later in the show. I want to air my favorite story that I got to do with Weasy. But we'll talk a little Weasy at the end of the show as well. And this means maybe we can get Weasy on off the air, which is a goal of mine. So more on that coming up later in the show. A few news and notes before we get going on our guests from today. Iowa State wraps up their trip to Utah 1-1. They win last night over a Utah team that's not very good, but they won 75-59, taking care of business. Jefferson had 25, 6-3. Now it gets really interesting for Iowa State. They get Texas Tech at home on Saturday, CBS, 3 p.m., and then they turn around and they go Big Monday at Arizona. So a gauntlet for Iowa State coming up, but they salvaged the split. Usually Wednesdays are about Jake Brend, and he's here traveling today back from Utah. So we're going to catch up with Jake hopefully tomorrow on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Also tomorrow's show, Jess Settles will be in the house, kind of reviewing the hopefully Iowa victory over Ohio State. We'll talk a little Illinois, Michigan with him coming up, Big Ten basketball in general. Life with Jess Settles is always better. So Jess Settles on tomorrow's show as well. High school basketball wise, for the girls in Illinois in 1A, great night. Weathersfield and Newman both winning. So they'll play each other for a sectional championship on Thursday. In 2A, Riverdale wins. They beat Winnebago. They'll take on Byron on Thursday night. Alleman lost to Byron last night. In 3A, Galesburg winning. We'll talk with Lexi Demott coming up later in the show. They were up 18-0 after one quarter in a really good sectional against a really, really good Metamora team. They've already beaten Morton, so more Galesburg Silver Streaks basketball coming up. And congratulations. And also in 4A, Moline's season comes to an end after a tough loss down in Richwood. Over in Iowa, Central DeWitt back to state, really good group. And now they'll play Norwalk coming up in the quarterfinals next week, and it's the same Norwalk team that beat them in the quarterfinals last year. Norwalk had a buzzer beater at the end of the half and buzzer beater at the end of the game to win by 2. So that's probably in the minds of Central DeWitt. So all of that, we'll get to that later on. Ron O'Brien's gonna join us in between pickleball games to talk about the Sabers as well. So, and then as I mentioned, the NFL Combine, a lot of news yesterday with coaches and general managers talking big things from the Bears. It sounds like Tyler Bagent is available. It sounds like the left tackle that got hurt, and I didn't write now, Trubisky or whatever. And somebody can help me with that. I'm sure they'll get on the chat and tell me. Probably won't be much of a factor next year. And so good stuff. And that's what the NFL does great is the Combine takes center stage. They talk to coaches, GMs. They're always talking points of what's going on. The draft is coming up soon. Free agency sooner than that. So NFL is always king. But we're not talking NFL. We're going to start with some college basketball and some Iowa basketball. And speaking of kings, Tyler Tachman joins us right now. How's that for an intro? King Tachman joins us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I think depending on the outcome of the game tonight, if Iowa doesn't beat Ohio State, we need to have some serious conversations about the energy that you're bringing to Carver Hawkeye Arena.
You're going to go right there. I call you a king, and you're going to go right there.
There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
No, geez. No, it'll be talked about. I already get a hard time from Kakert and others. I'm sure Chad will give me a hard time. For they say that I come around for the big games. I'd like to be there more often. I'm going to be at Michigan too, so they're going to have to pay me not to come to Michigan. If I lose tonight, they're going to have to pay me to keep me away. It should be a great atmosphere tonight. I want to get to tonight's game in a second, but just in general for you right now, how crazy is life? I mean, you're running around, you got that. There's always football news going on. You're always locked into the Iowa women's basketball team as well. You, Chad, your entire staff does a fantastic job. What's this time of year like for you before we get rolling?
Yes, I just say yes. It's crazy. I've been traveling a lot. I've been to Washington, Oregon, then I went to Maryland, was just in Wisconsin. I'm leaving for Penn State on Friday. So a lot of travel. I love going to the away games and like seeing the venues and all that. I'm not a huge fan of like the travel itself, like the having to deal with the planes and all that the layovers and delays and stuff. But it's I can't complain too much because it's a fun job, and it definitely a little bit tiring at this point in the year, but I enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, you're rolling on adrenaline right now, Tyler, and that's a beautiful thing. A home game,
and
which
caffeine.
is nice. Caffeine, exactly. A home game is nice this time of year. Obviously, Penn State on the future, but a big game with Ohio State coming up tonight. Before we get to that, they got the big game last week and the win over Nebraska in what I thought was kind of just a funky game. It wasn't pretty, but it's a victory and all those kind of things. What did you take out of Wisconsin? Because I thought offensively they played better. I'm just one of those guys. I think you probably tweeted it, and I probably stole it from you, but you just expect the Iowa defense to be that consistency, that one thing you can rely on, old reliable. It wasn't there, and it hasn't been there in several games. Your thoughts, I guess, on Wisconsin, what went wrong for Iowa up in Madison?
I thought they didn't play terribly, but they also didn't play well enough to win on the road against a good Wisconsin team. And I mean, they had a 1 point lead at halftime, and the defense, it was just weird because of how well Iowa played defensively in that Nebraska game. And then you turn around and play like that against Wisconsin. The 84 points was the most that Iowa has given up this season in a game. And obviously both of those teams are good offensive teams. Like, you have to give them credit for that. But I think if Iowa's defense isn't playing well on a consistent basis, like, the ceiling and the floor of this team drops dramatically, because the offense has been kind of hit and miss at times. But if you play good defense, like, you're going to give yourselves a chance. And Nick Boyd just carved them up, and that's kind of been an issue this season with those kind of downhill driving guards that they've had trouble containing. You know, when you talk about Donovan Dent, what he did in the second half for UCLA, Cam Woods at USC, Nick Boyd. So it's been a recurring theme, and part of it is Iowa doesn't have like a legit rim protector. Like, they have a very limited rim protecting presence. So, like, if you get beat off the dribble, there's not like a 7-footer to kind of bail you out and wipe the shot away. So that's part of the issue. I mean, you also have to probably play better team defense and stay in front of the ball, but the lack of rim protecting presence is definitely part of the issue as well.
Tyler, it's beating a dead horse, but the big story, or the big, talking point this year for Iowa basketball has been a second scorer, or a consistent second scorer. I think you saw that with Wisconsin, with Blackwell not playing well, and Boyd was outstanding. And you have those two reliable guys, and then you have a bunch of nice parts. And I think Iowa has a bunch of nice parts. They just haven't had that consistent guy step up and play well. Tate Stage played well against Wisconsin. It's been playing better of late. Flashed this season as well. Is it still, I mean, we're here in late February. Isn't it kind of, it is what it is when it comes to maybe a second scorer where, nobody's really grabbed it yet? It could be a different guy, different nights, but it's still an issue here as March is what, less than a week away.
Yeah, that's fair. Tate Sage, he played really well against Wisconsin. And I mean, I think if you had to pin a second scorer at this point, it's Tavion Banks. Like, he's been pretty consistent and good for Iowa and on the boards, not just scoring. But I think there's a lot of guys that like aren't playing to their full potential, which is like a kind of a good thing and a bad thing. A bad thing because there's guys that just aren't playing their best, but it's a good thing because it feels like there's still room for Iowa to get better. Like, I think Alvaro Folgueras still has another level he can go up. Cooper Koch, same thing. And Isaiah Howard. There's guys that I think can play better and that make you feel like Iowa still has some notches to get better, but it's more of a question of like, is it going to happen ever at this point? And because you have to give, I mean, Bennett Sturts, I mean, he's been great, and he was great in that Nebraska game and kind of put Iowa on his back. I thought the Wisconsin game, in terms of the supporting cast, was like a step forward because they got pretty good contributions from a variety of guys. It's just the offense kind of fell apart as a whole in the second half. But it might not be like, okay, this one guy's going to give you like 15 outside of Bennett Sturts or like 20. It might need to be like, okay, you get 4 from Cale Combs, you get 8 from Tate Sage, you get 6 from Isaiah Howard. It might kind of need to be that more of a by committee, not that like legit number 2 option.
No, absolutely. Tyler Tachman joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Fast forward to tonight, and it's a big game at Carver Hawkeye. They got one last week against that signature victory against Nebraska. You don't want to give one back. But I don't know if people know enough about Ohio State. We talked a little bit about it yesterday with Tom Kakert. What can people expect from Ohio State? A talented team. Bruce Thornton's just a pain in the butt every time you play them, and they're a little desperate as well, or they're a little, they need a victory. I don't want to say desperate, but they need a quad one impressive victory, and going to Carver tonight would do it. Your thoughts on Ohio State, and what can Iowa fans expect from that team coming in tonight?
Yeah, I was favored, and I feel like it's not a game that like Iowa fans are overlooking, but I mean, Ohio State isn't a bad team. Like, they come in with the exact same Big Ten record as Iowa at 9-7. They the last 3 games they lost by a few points to a really good Virginia team. Then they beat Wisconsin handily at home, and then they went on the road to Michigan State and played the Spartans really close. Like, it's not a great Ohio State team, but it's also not like a bad Ohio State team either. And their NCAA tournament resume is in worse shape than Iowa's. They don't have any quad one wins right now. So like this is exactly the type of win that Ohio State needs in order to try to get on the right side of the bubble. Yeah, Bruce Thornton, containing him's got to be number one priority for Iowa. I'm interested to see too, because Devin Royal, one of their better players, he missed the last game with an illness. I think whether he plays or not is an important storyline to track if he plays against Iowa. And then John Mobley Jr., he's missed the last few games. He's also one of Ohio State's better players if he plays or not against Iowa. So some of the equation here is like, who all is Ohio State going to have available? But this is, to me, like the start of an important 2-game stretch, not because like they're huge matchups for Iowa, like marquee matchups or anything, but because of what is coming after these 2 games, which is Ohio State, Penn State. And then you have Michigan at home, who's lost 2 games all season, and you go on the road to a Nebraska team that's going to be looking for revenge. So it's counting on winning even one of those last 2 regular season games is a stretch. So I think you can kind of provide some stability to your NCAA tournament picture by taking care of the business in these next 2 games, which Iowa is the last 2 games of the regular season that Iowa's going to be favored in.
Tyler, I think I've talked to you about this before, but I don't know what it is about Carver. Even when they won against Nebraska, it wasn't a good start. It seems like that team struggles. You go back to USC, you go back to Rutgers, you go back to, it seems like they start slow at home. Purdue was a bad start. Illinois was a bad start. Probably have to go back to UCLA or Maryland before you think like, wait, they really started well at home. Is there anything to it? I'm trying to figure out like what's wrong. It's a great arena. They shoot there all the time. The fans will be there. Is there any thought process to the slow start? Aren't they due to start tonight 10-2, something like that?
Well, they did start well against Wisconsin. Like, I know that I realized that was on the road. They did start really well against Wisconsin. Well, I think the issue, I don't think it's necessarily the home versus away. I think it's more so just like, I know I asked Ben McCollum recently if he had like considered changing the starting lineup, and he said there was thought that had gone into it. He hasn't changed it. It's just, you don't have Alvaro Folgueras in the starting lineup, and he provides some of the help on the offensive end with his passing ability and ability to shoot, but it's not like a great offensive lineup to start the game because, you have Cale Combs in there, you have Cam Maniow, and so it's not like Iowa's offensive lineup per se. So that's part of the reason that that Iowa's been getting off to slow starts is because they have trouble scoring. Now it's more of a defensive lineup and they can get stops, but when that kind of conversation bubbled up, I think of last week or around, I'm in favor of Iowa changing the starting lineup just because the slow starts Iowa's kind of playing, digging themselves holes and having to play catch up in a lot of these games. So I think that's more the issue than like necessarily it being at Carver.
I got to ask you then, you get to be head coach. Tyler Tachman beats Ben McCollum in 1-on-1, which we all expect to happen, and you get to head coach a game tonight. Who's your starting lineup? Like, what would you, if you get to be head coach, what change or changes would you make?
Yeah, I would put Tate Sage in the starting lineup, and I know that's maybe a bit of a stretch from like a coaching perspective because he's a freshman, and that's a bigger step. But I mean, I think he's one of Iowa's better players. He can shoot, he can defend. I'd put him in Iowa's starting lineup probably for Kale Combs, and then I'd probably start Alvaro Folgueras for Cam Manny out. Just I think that would help offensively, and but then I think the good thing about not starting Alvaro is that you kind of mitigate the risk of him picking up 1 or 2 touch fouls in the first 2 minutes. So that I do think that is a good. Having him come off of the bench kind of helps with that. But I mean, Tate Sage and Folgueras, I think from an offensive perspective, they probably give you your best chance in that starting unit.
Tyler, I want to talk to you about the women's team as well. For tonight, though, wrapping up kind of with that, I talked to a lot of people that were Carver last week against Nebraska, and obviously that Purdue game was the sellout game and the atmosphere and the environment and packed house. I know it wasn't a sellout for Nebraska. I know the students were there and packed, and I know it was a great environment. Even Aaron White was on the show maybe a day or two later last week, and he was like, wow, the crowd was amazing at Carver Hawkeye and loud and best crowd of the year, all those kind of things. What can we expect tonight? And what difference does that crowd make? I'm kind of a duh question, but what difference can that home environment make for this basketball team?
Yeah, because the home sellout for the Purdue game, which was the first sellout of the Ben McCollum era, they never really got a true chance to get into the game because Purdue kind of just jumped them from the start, and the crowd definitely wanted to be in it, and it just didn't have much of a chance to do so. And then against Nebraska, it wasn't sold out, but it was a super engaged crowd, and you could tell they really wanted to help will Iowa to victory, and I think they definitely played a role in that. So I would say, I mean, it's a Wednesday game against Ohio State, 8 p.m. tip. It's not the best circumstances for a great crowd from a volume perspective, but I would expect that the people that are there to be very engaged and to do everything in their power to make it a true home court advantage. In Ohio State, they haven't been great in neutral games and true road games. So this is the type of game, you can win, you feel much better about the NCAA tournament outlook and kind of taking another step towards securing a bid. This is the type of game where you'd love the home crowd to be the difference maker.
Tyler, if they go 2-2 down the stretch, are they in that top 8 in the Big Ten that you need to be in? Have you done the math and all that kind of stuff? Or
I'm not sure. I'm not sure standing wise in the Big Ten, but if they go 2-2, they'll be in very good position to make the NCAA tournament. So I think they'd be probably fairly safely in if they go 2-2.
No, absolutely. Thoughts for tonight? Do you do predictions? Are you in the prediction game? Have you put anything out yet?
Yeah. I think I predicted Iowa to win 78-73. Iowa is they have not shot the ball well from 3 recently. It was really good offensively in the first half against Wisconsin, and then it kind of fell off of a cliff. But it's been rough shooting for Iowa. It's I feel at some point the floodgates are going to open. I don't know when it's going to be. It might be tonight, might be against Penn State, who knows. But when it does, then you feel when it rains, it pours. It's going to happen, but it's just a matter, I think, of when. So, but I picked Iowa to win. It's
a great point because the two things I've been kind of harping on, it didn't happen against Nebraska. They still won. Was the fast start. I feel like they're due to have and they happened at Wisconsin. I get that, but I mean a really good start, a really good start, and then also. There's 6 or 7 threes. No, don't do the stupid 6-7 thing. I didn't mean it like that. But that's what they shoot a game, and they're due for a 11, 12. You know what I mean? They're due for an outburst from 3. Hopefully it happens tonight when I'm there, so you guys can. Tyler already put it into an existence. Now I got pressure on myself. I feel like I need to get there early, get some warm ups in or something. But it should be a bunch of fun. Girls wise, women's wise, as impressive of a 3-game stretch last week as you can get. Nebraska, then taking care of business with Purdue without Hannah Stolke, and then Michigan is just your signature victory. Where are you at ceiling wise when it comes to the Iowa women's basketball team?
Well, I think what's impressive to me is that coming off of that rough trip to California, then they come back and lose to Minnesota. And I think you were kind of a little bit nervous about where this team was at, especially without, not without Taylor McCabe, but the way that Iowa has responded to that and won 4 in a row, won handily at Nebraska, beat Michigan at home. I think that provides optimism in terms of what's possible for this team, because they've shown they've been able to respond to adversity with that losing streak, losing Taylor McCabe, and they've been able to beat some really good teams. So I think, and now looking at them likely hosting, right, and that's, the way the Carver crowd is for the women's games is just incredible. So that makes you feel really confident. It makes me feel really confident that Sweet 16 is definitely on the table. And then they've been able to beat some of these higher level teams. So I think Elite Eight is like not probably out of the question in my mind.
No, absolutely. They're playing really, really good basketball. When you look at that women's team as well, it's coming faster. It's coming quicker. They've just had a great stretch. I know they play tomorrow night at home against Illinois. Do you worry? Do you guard against? Do you protect against that letdown? Illinois is a good basketball team. The way they played, I just feel like, and then maybe big picture with you, I feel like it was like a year ago. Anytime I talked about women's basketball, when they lost about 5 straight, there were those doubters about like, man, they just gave it to Coach Jensen. I look at that. She's one of the best coaches in the country with what she's done. Can you talk about what she's done over the last couple of years? My wife said to me the other day, we were watching the Michigan game. She came in, she goes, Carver's still like sold out. Like the Caitlin Clark effect is still a thing. I'm like, no, like it's not the Caitlin Clark effect. It's Iowa women's basketball. Your thoughts on just where that program's at with Coach Jensen and what she's done over the last couple of years?
You think about like where Iowa was at when she took over, and like you're having to try to replace a generational player and then a coach that has just had so much success. That's a tough ask. Like that's a lot to try to replace. And the fact that, so many, players during that transition between Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen, they stayed at Iowa. Right. And I think that spoke volumes to the trust that they had in Jan Jensen and what the future of the program could be under her. And then, to be able to bring in like a Lucy Olson to kind of bridge that gap after the Caitlin Clark era. I think when you put it into like a broader perspective of like, you are basically losing your like, Iowa lost its Michael Jordan, and the fact that there obviously has been like, they didn't go to the Final Four or the national championship game last season, but like, that's very understandable given everything that you lost. And it wasn't just losing Caitlin Clark, but also losing Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall, and some of those pieces that were kind of part of the rise of Iowa women's basketball. And the fact that they're still been able to be that level of success the last 2 seasons, mind you, in Jan Jensen's first and second seasons as head coach. Like, I think it's pretty impressive the way that they've been able to continue the momentum with very little let down or really like growing pain. Like there's been some growing pains, but it's been fewer than I probably expected, and I think that would have been realistic for a program that was trying to sustain the highs that it had been on.
Tyler, before I let you go, football wise, it's funny because we talk about the NFL at this top, and like it's always football season. So yes, we're in February, but it's always football season. Iowa needs a running back coach, and Iowa recruiting wise is doing really well in 2027. Jake Narot is a quarterback in the Chicago area that is emerging as a name that Iowa is interested in. They're interested in him, number 2 quarterback in the country. One of those two or both, running back coach, quarterback recruit. What do you got?
It's just like an interesting dynamic with the running back room because Iowa's staff just has such great stability, and now this will be their 3rd running back coach in the last 3 years. So with like someone like Brevin Dahl or Xavier Williams, like they'll have a different running backs coach in each of their 3 seasons. Not that it's like devastating toward the trajectory of Iowa's program. It's just that they're so built on having that coaching staff stability, so it's a little bit different, I guess. And then in terms of the recruiting, like I mean, last season Iowa brought in a great high school, or this recruiting cycle, Iowa brought in a great high school recruiting class. They've killed it in the portal this past cycle. So the way that they've been recruiting, and I think stability plays a part in that too. Like, I know I just talked about the different running backs, coach, but the fact that you have the stability from a staff perspective and the way that Kirk Ferentz has built the program, like, it makes it an appealing spot when you look around elsewhere, and UCLA is cycling through coaches, Deshaun Foster, and even James Franklin is out at Penn State. So the stability, I think, plays a factor in just making it an appealing landing spot in this climate.
Tyler, just so you know, I have people texting me that if Iowa loses tonight, I'll be now known as the disappointing Dazzler, disappointing Dazzo, all these kind of things. So thank you for putting that out into existence.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
hey,
sorry. I
got to do my job. I got to come. I got to be ready to go. I will see you tonight. I look forward to it. Save me a spot at the big kid table. I know it's all signed. I tried to get Corey Sheets to get me a spot between Dolph and Bobby, but unfortunately they won't let me do that. So I'll be roaming around. I look forward to seeing you. Also, for great coverage, tell people everything you guys got going on, you, Chad, everybody else. You'll be at Penn State coming up this weekend. So plug everything you guys do before I let you go.
Yeah, we're find us on hawkcentral.com. I'm on X at Tyler_T15.
And the pod after the Nebraska game on the court was a brilliant idea. Was that you or Chad?
Well, I kind of was just like, if they win, let's just do it. Let's just do it right after the game when the emotions are high.
Yeah.
And, so I guess I'll take credit for
the
it.
young fella coming up with a great idea.
How
No,
did
it was
you see
awesome.
that?
That's what. What's that?
How did you know about that? Like, we did it.
One, I listened, but two, I thought I thought maybe Chad. I can't remember, but somebody told me you did it right afterwards.
Yeah, we did. Well,
Yeah.
I just didn't know how you knew that.
Yeah,
Or
because-
did we say it on the podcast? It was kind of a blur. It was at like 12 a.m.
It was up
So
quick. So the thing that I've learned, and I've learned it from, this is inside numbers, baseball kind of nonsense, but like you mentioned it, big wins. Like, people don't want to wait till the next day. I found out in football season, Kakert and I jumped on here. You guys would do one as well. Like, if fans, if they win, they want to talk about it. They're excited. So great idea as always. And I'll make sure I give you credit to Chad tonight if I see Chad roaming around tonight at all. So I appreciate you, my friend. I'll see you at Carver. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. See you.
All right. That is Tyler Tachman doing an outstanding job on the beat. And that's one thing that Iowa is blessed with, is they have great beat writers that are covering all their sports, and I'm lucky enough that they lower themselves to come hang out with me on my show and talk Iowa athletics. So a big game tonight, Iowa, Ohio State, Carver Hawkeye Arena, 8:00 start. It's an hour. It's not that big of a deal. If you're thinking about going to the game and you're in the Quad Cities, or if you're in Des Moines, or if you're wherever, it's an hour difference. Like, if it was 7, people are like, I'd go if it was 7. Well, if it's an hour later, take the time. It's 1 hour. You can lose an hour of sleep to watch a really good Big Ten basketball game tonight. We'll talk about it again tomorrow, hoping and efforting, and we should have Jess Settles on the show tomorrow to talk about that game and to start looking ahead to Michigan and Illinois. I was going to ask Tyler about that because it's a great Big Ten basketball game coming up between two really good teams on Friday down in Champaign as well. So we got a lot more to get to on today's show. Coming up after the break, we're going to turn our attention to the high school level. What a night it was in Galesburg last night. Thiel Gymnasium, the Silver Streaks knocking off Metamora. They are now on their way to the Sweet 16. They'll take on Washington on Thursday back at home. It's one of the best sectionals in the entire state, especially in 3A. And we'll talk more about that and much more with the head coach of the Silver Streaks, Lexi Demott, right after this. You're watching OTA. I got to figure out what day it is. It's Wednesday in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak. with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. We've been talking a lot of high school basketball in recent weeks, and rightfully so. It's that such a fun, great time of year. A busy night last night on both sides of the river. Over on the Iowa side, Central DeWitt is heading to state. They join in on the fun. We're going to talk with Ron O'Brien coming up in just a little bit. But over in Illinois, a couple teams made their way into the sectional finals, including in 3A when Galesburg knocked off a very, very good Metamora team down in Galesburg. And joining us now to talk all about it is the head coach of the Silver Streaks, Lexi Demott. And another appearance here on the show. I don't want to take full credit for everything, Lexi, but you've been on, the girls have been on, now you're on again. I feel like an assist, like at least like I don't want any points, but I get like a little assist maybe.
Yeah, you'll become our next superstition.
Okay.
You have to be on the Randazzo show before we play a big game.
And everybody in Galesburg has to watch the show before going on. That's the big thing as well. Congratulations. Obviously, we talked to the girls last week about winning that regional championship, but we also talked to them about the road ahead and everyone. I talked to a lot of coaches. Scott Hardison at Geneseo was lucky enough to be my assistant coach for our fifth graders. And we talk about that sectional. We've talked about how good it is. Before we get to the game itself, going in to last night and now Thursday night, you guys know there's four really good teams at the sectional.
Yeah, everybody has their own thing that makes them special and really good in the sectional, and so we knew going into the game last night that it was going to be a hard game for 32 minutes, and we had to show up for those 32 minutes. We had to let things go, and we had to play hard, and they did that last night, and they were extremely successful in what they did.
Lexi, highlights, we show threes and layups and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes we don't give full credit to probably what won that game for you last night, and you can tell me, but judging from a box score, you're giving up 27 points. And I think to Morton last Thursday, you gave up 19. You're smiling, and you don't feel the best because you're a little under the weather. Defense is a pretty good remedy for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's kind of been something we've said all year long. Defense wins championships. Offense is going to win you games, but at the end of the day, your defense is going to win you championships and take you further along the road. And so, I think we've seen that multiple times throughout the year. Another point that sticks out to me is Totopoulos down at Mattoon. We were in that game. We were already down 10 after the first quarter. And then that second half, we came out and just completely shut down to anything that they wanted to do. And it really changed momentum for us. And then last night, got off to a great start. Offensively, maybe not, making everything that we would, normally like to see go in. But defensively, we just kept the pressure up, which then led to easier buckets for us. So then that combined together, the confidence was just off the roof for the kids.
Lexi, you look at young people and threes and everything they can do. How do you get young people to buy into defense? I mean, your team has done it. I think the results kind of help a little bit sometimes maybe, but it's hard. It's not fun. We talked about it's not glamorous, but defense wins a lot of basketball games. How do you get your kids to buy in? And was there a point where you felt like they bought in defensively?
I think since I've stepped into this role last year and then that summer going into my first season was big for us. And that's kind of where we set the tone of defensively, we're going to play solid half-court man-to-man defense, and then we're going to pressure you for 32 minutes. That was kind of the message that they heard when they came. We didn't even talk about offense. Our whole first summer was just straight up, we're going to learn how we're going to press for 32 minutes and how we're going to play half-court defense. That's all it was. And then everything else kind of, came along as we did that. And then last year we had a lot of success, like you said. They felt success off of it. So obviously, as a kid, you have success. Well, I'm going to buy into that a little bit more. And now that they've had a lot of success with it, they've really, really bought into it. They also know that if they want to be on the floor, they have to play defense. And so they realize, like, okay, if I want to be somebody out here, I got to sit down and do my role and know the scouting report and know who I'm defending in order to, stay out on the court.
Lexi Demott, the head coach at Galesburg, joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You mentioned the big start and the good start. How important is that? Not just scoreboard-wise, obviously it's fun and that's good, but just to calm nerves a little bit. I saw pictures. I'm going to talk about the environment in a second, but it's the big stage. It's not March, but it is March, if that makes any sense. It's February basketball in high schools, and it's huge. Did that help? Talk about the start, and did you see a start like that coming? Did you feel good before the game, and how important was that start for you ladies? The start was huge. Obviously, last Thursday, we didn't see, such a great start for us. But we were able to pull that around. And then last night, the kids were feeling really good about themselves. When they came in, I felt like you could kind of, they didn't really know. They were a little bit nervous. You could kind of feel that energy. But by the time they had gotten themselves dressed, went up to the top of the high school, it's where they stretch and they listen to music and they just kind of bond together before the game. When they came back down, they were running down the hallway. They were cheering and they were ready to go in the locker room. They were really excited. So then I felt like that energy had kind of shifted. Like they were getting ready to, go out there and do what they needed to do. And then getting off to a hot start was great, but all of that really was because of their defense, because of their pressure, because they trusted each other. They were communicating. So we were getting easy steals for layups, so that kind of just all fed into each other. No, absolutely. We mentioned the environment. I'm looking to see if I have my book here. There's a book Vincent Johnson wrote. It's called Illustrious Gyms. Here, he's been on the show, and it celebrates the great gyms. I'm going to give him a quick plug. It's the best one in the world. There's 6 of 8 gyms from the Western Big Six in the book. I love Vincent, and he did a great job. I would challenge him, because Thiel Gym's not in here. I would challenge him to go to Thiel Gym on Thursday night and then reconsider what I just said, because talk about the atmosphere. And you've played there, you've been in big games there. It makes a difference. And maybe Mike Vincent's response would be like, the gym versus the atmosphere are different things. And that might be, and I love Vincent, so I'm not calling him out, but the environment, the atmosphere, that's got to help a ton. As a alum who's now coaching, Did you stand back at any point and look around last night? I saw pictures. I wasn't there, and say, wow.
Yeah, it was very much a surreal moment. I knew that I had heard a lot of people say that they were going to come to the game. Some people had said, I haven't even been to a game yet this season, but I'm coming on Tuesday night. And then I knew the doors weren't supposed to open till 5. I was there about 4:30ish, and then about 4:40, you started to see the people come to the doorway. Next thing you know, it's 4:45, and now we're already opening the doors. And then by 5:15, what would be more like a Thursday night conference game crowd was starting to roll in. And then I kind of hid for a little bit because there's just too many people. And then I went in the locker room with the kids, and I came back out, and the whole bottom section was filled. And people were starting to trickle up into the top tier. And then as the game was getting ready to tip off, that top tier was starting to fill up. And I kind of just stood, like you said, I stood there for a moment and just looked at it. And, like, this is what it's all about. This is what these kids have worked for. They deserve it. And I've said it countless times in post-game things last night, but the Galesburg community has these kids backed right now. And the people that have just come to the game for the first time, I hope they come back on Thursday to see that. All the small businesses around here were sharing our posts on Facebook, letting their, people that follow them know, hey, come watch the game, go support the girls, all of that stuff. The student section has really bought in. They were huge last night. They put on kind of their own little ESPN broadcast. And so that was kind of neat to see. But yeah, there's just so many exciting things that are going on right now. And last night was just something that I know I will never forget, but I also know those kids will never forget. And that means more than anything to me.
Absolutely. Lexi Demott joining us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. What was the message afterwards? Because you have to enjoy it. That's the hard thing, I think, about sectional semifinal games is they're huge. I mean, it's Sweet 16. I mean, it's awesome stuff. And now you get like a day to go get ready for one of the best teams in the entire state. You got to let them enjoy it, but you got to turn the page. What was the message afterwards to what I'm assuming was a pretty loud locker room, if that's safe to say, with the girls that you have?
Well, this probably won't shock you since you've talked to them. So Coach Harden, he always goes into the locker room after the game, and he's either doing some goofy dance or something to like either prep them for the next game or whatever it is. He always has a message or is doing something. Well, I'm normally always the first one in, and I walk in and nobody's looking at me. They all have their heads down and they're like this. And so I'm like looking around and I'm like, okay, like what is going on? Like, are they crying? Like, I don't understand. Well, then my other assistants walk in, and then Coach Harden comes in, and he like starts cheering and jumping up and down and, yelling Sweet 16, all of these things, and they don't do anything. They literally don't even look at him. And so then I turn to my assistants, and they're looking at me like, I don't know what they're doing. Next thing you know, they waited probably 3 or 4 seconds, and then they all just jumped up and down and started screaming. They thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, guys, like, what is going on? But they were having fun. They were just being themselves. But yeah, the message was, hey, like, take pride in this. You are one of the 16 teams left in the state that get to keep playing, that get to keep practicing. That's something to be proud of. Enjoy it. But then kind of just like our conference games, we play Thursday and then we turn around and play Saturday. It's like, yes, relish in this moment, enjoy all of it, enjoy going out and seeing everybody that was here and talking to people. But then we have to shut the book. And like you said, we have to move on. We're getting ready to play one of the best teams in the state. And it's going to be a battle on Thursday night.
You mentioned it. The regional championship, you play a Morton team that's really good. Then you get Metamora, and then now it's Washington. Washington ranked one of the top teams in the entire state. Take me to that. Obviously, your attention is now on Washington. It's 2 of the best teams in the entire state going head-to-head in the sectional final, which is frustrating a little bit. But, hey, bottom line is you could play them in a state final downstate, or you could maybe play them in Thiel Gym, which is not a bad place to play. Just the thoughts of – and I'm sure you watched some of their game a little bit last night, not that you haven't seen them before. Your thoughts on a very good Washington team on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think credit to those kids. I know we had kind of talked off air about how, you were taking your kiddo in to shoot early in the morning. I believe that they've got a group of kids. I think they call it like their breakfast club or something that they go and do in the morning. And so that's really paid off for them. Their ability to shoot the ball 1 through 6 or 7 that they're playing off of the bench is huge for them. And so that's something that we have to be aware of. And we have to know, like, okay, like I can't just not go guard this person on, I can't kind of sag off. Like I've got to get out with high hands. But they also have a lot of basketball IQ. They don't really seem to get sped up a lot. And so, we have to understand that, they are going to be strong with the ball. They are going to be physical. They will box us out. All of those things, they're a good team. They're going to do what they're going to do. They are going to get theirs. At the end of the day, they're going to. It's a part of the game, and it's on us to figure out when they get theirs, are we going to let it mount to 6, 7, 8, or are we going to say, okay, it's been 2 or 4, now, let's stop this, let's get a stop and move on. And so it's just going to be a game, and basketball is a game of runs. It's going to be how long are you going to let that run go, and what's your answer going to be to it.
No, absolutely. Coach, I got to go back to the regionals real fast because a good Morton team. And it's funny because the girls were on last Friday after they won. And then I had Jim Madsen on towards the end of the show just to talk Illini basketball. And I don't know if you know who Jim Madsen is, but he's a longtime sportscaster down in Peoria, covers their area. Awesome. And he just, in our conversation, brought up the Galesburg girls because he covered their game for Morton. And he's like, I was so impressed with what they did. So I know that Friday or Thursday was special. We've talked, I can't remember on air or off air, whatever, but your junior year, Morton got you to end your season. I know I won't make you old. You're still young, but that was a little while ago. Was there a little part of you? Was there a young Lexi going like, okay, good, we got him back at all? A little bit?
Yes. I think that was, obviously Morton and Galesburg have kind of, I felt like, had this rivalry for a long time. You put Coach Massey, Coach Becker, 2 of the top coaches, what I feel like in the state of Illinois, that do such a great job and have built such great programs for their schools. And so you get them going head to head year after year after year, not only in the regular season, but then you turn around and a majority of the time it was happening again in the postseason. And so, to be able to, 1, beat them on their home floor in the regular season when they were the number 1 team ranked in the state was a little bit of a confidence booster for our kids. And then, come again on Thursday, it was an away game, but our fans and our community made it feel like it was a home game again. And they were just, they were ready to go, and they had a mission, and their mission was they wanted to get them again, and they wanted to win a regional championship. And they did that. So proud of them for doing that as well.
Coach, I can't let you go without talking about what happened on Thursday night last Thursday, because the girls told us. I'm glad you guys are home because you don't have to deal with buses. As a younger head coach and just won a regional and beat Morton, your bus is supposed to make it all the way back to the high school. What was your perspective of an interesting Thursday night, non-basketball wise, last week?
Yeah, so we were probably about 10 miles or so before we actually even, pulled over. We started to smell something, and one of my assistants behind me was like, it smells like somebody's burning oil. And obviously we're in the interstate, so there were kind of people all around us. We didn't know. And then we were alone for a little bit, and he was like, man, it's strong. So I'm looking over the seat, like trying to check the temperature gauges. Well, I don't know what it says. So I turn to him. I'm like, I don't know. It looks okay to me. So he's looking, and he was like, oh, yeah, we'll be fine. He literally said that, and then a matter of 5 minutes, all we heard was like, ee, and then we're just like bumping into the shoulder. Thankfully, we were able to come to a full stop. I immediately, my assistants got out with the bus driver. I had our kids, had everybody sit, we had somebody at the back of the bus just to make sure, we didn't have anybody rear end us that way. And I immediately called our athletic director and said, hey, we are literally almost to the Galesburg exit. Can we please, if there's parents around, normally we do a sign out sheet. I'm like, can they just come and get the kids? Because I don't want them sitting here any longer than they need to. Yeah. It was late. It was cold. Thankfully, it was not raining. I could only imagine if that would have happened right outside of Peoria, where it was pouring down rain, thundering, all the things. But yeah, he was great about it. He was like, "Yep, come get him." And then a county sheriff, actually pulled up, so he kind of helped in that process. And then our cheerleading bus happened to end up rolling up probably about 10 minutes after, and so all the kids had gotten picked up, and my assistants and myself, we grabbed all of the team stuff, our stuff, and hopped on the cheerleading bus to get back into town. So, yeah, definitely was not in the playing cards after winning a regional. And we were so close to home, but I'm glad it was safe and there was nothing else that occurred in that process.
See, these are the things that people don't realize that coaches go through. The X's and O's are one thing. It's the stalled buses after regional championships. It's something with Galesburg, Lexi. We had a really cold spell. We all did. And so Alleman and Galesburg didn't play on a Friday night. They rescheduled it for a Saturday, and my son was on a bus going to Galesburg, and he called me. He's like, "Dad, the bus isn't going more than 35 miles an hour." The bus, same thing. All of a sudden, he's like, "Dad, we're getting pulled over by the cops on 74 because they were going so slow." They were escorted to 150. They eventually made it down there, and then they had to go get a bus. It was too cold. It was too cold for the bus to do. So that's 2 Galesburg bus stories. You know what? The Thursday night's perfect because you're in Galesburg. It should be a bunch of fun. Before I let you go, I know Evan Massey means a lot to you, and your staff is great and everything. How much do you converse with him this time of year? And I know obviously he's got to be thrilled and proud about what not just yourself but this program is doing right now.
We actually saw him. I saw him last night when I kind of stepped away from everything just because there was a lot of people around. He was actually coming down the hallway that I was kind of just secluding myself in. He definitely does a great job of, he will joke about it, but he never wants to overstep my decisions or what I am trying to do or anything. He'll always lead with, "I'm probably stepping out of my lane," but, give his thoughts on things. It was funny. The janitor then saw him afterwards, and after he had ran into me, he walked down the way, and the janitor said, "Hey, I heard they called and they said they were going to bring you out of retirement." And he started laughing. It was like, "Oh, I don't think that's going to happen." And so he was at the game last night. He always, like I said, I think I said it the first time, sits in the area kind of like right behind our bench because he says he's going to second guess all the decisions that I'm making during the game. But he's been great. He's always somebody that I can call when I need to. He's always one of the first people to text me and my assistant, "Congratulations." He's been huge for me. And he built confidence in me as a player. He did it as an assistant coach, and he's continued to do it now where I'm sitting at the helm of everything. And so his support will always be special to me. And everything that he's done for me will, I don't think I will ever be able to return him any thanks besides, maybe getting a state championship someday.
Yeah, that would be, I think he would enjoy that. The gauntlet continues, young lady. You've been under the weather a little bit, so I have to feel bad for making you do this. But if this means good things, hopefully maybe we'll talk some way, shape, or form Friday, maybe Monday, all those kind of things as well. Again, anybody who loves girls basketball, Galesburg, if you're in the Quad Cities, is not far away. A fantastic game on Thursday night. 2 of the best teams in the entire state going head-to-head. Enjoy it, young lady. Best of luck, and let's talk again soon. I think this is a good thing.
I think it is too. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Lexi. Appreciate it. That is Lexi Demott, the head coach for Galesburg. What an atmosphere. And it's a great sectional, and we've kind of known it going through this, that the road to state, like some of the best teams are right there in Galesburg. Galesburg, Washington coming up on Thursday night for a sectional championship. And then we talked about the quick turnarounds. You go play in a super sectional on Saturday, and that's got a really good team there as well. One of the top teams in the state as well. So the road to state is a gauntlet, and hopefully Galesburg gets there and then takes care of business at state as well. So we're going to stick with the high school theme. It's an awesome time of year when it comes to high school basketball and girls basketball. We've talked with Maquoketa and Mediapolis about their state trips. We're going to talk with the head coach of the Central DeWitt Sabers, Ron O'Brien, as the Sabers are heading back to state once again. We'll do that right after the break. You're watching OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. As we mentioned, a big night of girls high school basketball last night. We have 3 teams from our WQAD viewing area. I always kind of go by my old viewing area when it comes to Quad City viewing area, heading to state in Iowa. We've talked with the Maquoketa girls. We've talked with the Mediapolis girls as well. Last night it was Central DeWitt punching their return ticket to state. So this morning we couldn't get any girls because they're busy in school. So we settled for some old guy hanging out in an office. How are you, Ron O'Brien? Good to see you, my friend.
Wonderful and tired, and they better be in school. I'm not sure if they are.
My wife always says I'm mean to you when we're on here. She's like, you always give Ron too hard of a time. I said,
that's why I like her a lot better than you.
Well, that's everybody, Ron. There's not a person that, and you know this, I say all the time, my wife is brilliant. Her only flaw is her choice of men. It was an awful flaw, and it's biting her to this day. But anyways, congratulations. Obviously, every time you do something like this, you get to state, and you've done it at several schools. Back with Central DeWitt once again, it's different. It's special. What was last night like for yourself, that team, that community?
It was more, what a great atmosphere. Just start with, the community is awesome out there. So it was nice for them, but the group of seniors we have, 5 seniors, all play various roles, all do something different every game. It's somewhat different every game. I think what's most important to those guys, and as any coach, you'd hate to see that end. You hate to see that end run for those girls that have put 4 years into the hard work into this, and it's not over yet, and hopefully we have 3 games left with them.
You mentioned the environment. Kind of talk about it was a really good game, obviously, for the Sabers, but that environment, being at home, you have to take advantage of that. I feel like you guys did early on. Just kind of talk about, a good start, getting out there and kind of maybe putting any nerves that might be there to rest early. It's a team that you have that's played in a lot of big basketball games, but it's still to go to state. It's a big game. Kind of talk about, the start and maybe coming out and playing well early.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we've done. We've stressed all year, and they're doing now. They're playing with a confidence. I think someone commented that we're peaking at the right time, which it really looks like we are. And I think our ability to, last night's game was our first 5 out on the floor that start, jumped on them early like we like to do. And we're able, because we're deep enough. I say we have 9 starters. We don't have a bench, but the forced bench come in at 4 minutes, and they took it to another level when they came in last night in that first quarter. It's amazing. They bought in now into that rotation, which is not always easy, especially because of seniors that aren't starting, even though I tell them they're starters, but they're playing the same amount of minutes. And it's important that we keep up that pressure on both ends of the floor, and we're way better off when all 9 are bought in and doing that.
Ryan, you look at a team that has had high expectations, and you guys have embraced them. You've talked about them. You've embraced them. They've played well this season. Last year, maybe a little different, flying under the radar, all that disrespectful media that didn't give you the love maybe you deserved early. You've embraced it, but it is always special to get to state, and it's a place I think they expected to be, but they got there. What was afterwards like, the celebrations? Because as we mentioned, they're all different. You can't win a state championship unless you get to state. What was that like? And I know as somebody like yourself, you love to watch that type of celebration and the girls enjoy their hard work.
Yeah, that's why we do it. It's just, you sit back and just watch the celebration. They jump into the student section and the joy and the hugs with the parents. And that's, that's it. They just enjoyed it. I think, like you said, it was a little more, I don't know if it was more special this year. Last year it was a close game. Last night wasn't so close. So, we could roll it. It was so nice that we were able to walk the seniors off the floor with a minute 20 left in the crowd. Give them a standing ovation. They got that on senior night this year. It's been kind of just a special run for them, 22 games in a row now. So, again, I think it's that confidence they're playing with, and I think it's going to be a lot better to carry that on into state on that big floor.
Absolutely. The state is next. I believe you said Tuesday, 1:30 against Norwalk. We'll talk about the familiar name, and DeWitt people know all about that name, Norwalk. We'll talk about that in a second. But you guys go to state, and I think you're a 6th seed, and you've won 22 straight games. I don't know what you have to do but do you guys? I don't say have a chip on the shoulder, but you're 22-1, Ron, or whatever it is. You'd think there must be 5 special teams waiting there in state to get a 6 seed.
I think it's just like in 5A, and with the PVs and the Norths, we don't get the respect on this side of the state as they do, even though these aren't necessarily Des Moines teams you face in 5A. It's all Des Moines teams that get all the rankings. Here, they're around that area. Dallas Center Grimes, that's basically a Des Moines team. They get the respect. We don't get it on this side of the state, and all of us coaches over here have fought that forever.
No, absolutely. But you go to state and you take on a Norwalk team. It's a rematch of the quarterfinal last year. You don't want to dwell last year, but Ron, I think you could probably remind the girls of what happened last year. I'm sure they don't need to be reminded.
We're dwelling.
To talk about that, because it was
I
tough
wanted
last
that
year.
game. That's a revenge game, obviously, getting beat. What I don't think I've experienced a game where a team has made a half-court shot at halftime and then a wild 3 that went off the backboard and they landed in their hands and tipped it in for the win. So there's certainly some revenge that's going to go into this process and our practices over the next 5 days.
Obviously a good program, and I know that while there's that respect or the revenge factor, I know you got a lot of respect for what they do. Have you started? I know it's just the morning after, but you got to look ahead. What do you know about Norwalk? What do you expect? And they're a team you see there all the time. When you go look at brackets, they're there more often than not. What do you expect from them on the court wise?
Yeah, they're pretty similar to us. They play fast, and they've got a really good sophomore. That's an all-state player that we'll have to focus on. It'll be a good game. It could be a challenge, but I think we're better equipped to handle it this year. That experience of playing there last year, we had a really rough first half, and I think we'll handle it better this year. There's just the experience of the 5 seniors and our 4 sophomores that play in our rotation were there. They were on the bench. One of them was a starter. So it'll be a much better opportunity this year to advance on.
Central DeWitt head coach Ron O'Brien joining us right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Coach, I just talked with Lexi Demott at Galesburg, and they won a crazy game last night on Tuesday, and now they play again on Thursday, and if they win that one, they play again on Saturday. And I know that's kind of the schedule for you guys next week if you continue to win. It gets crazy. But now in Iowa, you punch it, and then you kind of wait a little bit. Do you like the break? Do you like the chance for them to celebrate and to take a breath? Or do you wish when you've won 22 straight games that you could probably play a basketball game pretty quick?
It is, yeah. At this point, I think we're ready to play. It's a week. We're taking today off, and then we got to figure out how to beat up on each other again for 5 more days. We're fortunate that they're going to let us in. We're going to get over to Augie and practice one day, get on the college length court. But it's a challenge. What do I do at practice to try and keep them motivated and having fun? But it hasn't been hard with this group because they come to work every day, and again, probably that senior leadership. But it still is a challenge because it's a long season. They're getting a little tired of looking at me, and we still will try to make it fun and balance that. How hard do you have to work, and when you put that focus in, and then staying healthy. We've had a little bug going through. Kinley Burt played Michael Jordan game last night. She was sick as a dog all night the night before the game, and she's played through it and had a hell of a game last night, and proud of her, and it's good to have a day off for her. But yeah, it's a long stretch.
No, I agree. Ron, these girls are fun girls. They're good basketball players. We had them on the show, and 3 of them, and really, and you have sets of sisters, and they're close in that way as well. So I have to ask you to give them. I tried to get a family argument started between Ava and Emma who was the better putman, and they both kind of gave their case. I'm going to ask you. You can only play one putman. Who are you going to play? Is that fair?
Oh, wow. You can't
Is that fair?
But no, that's not fair. That's not fair. But I see Ava right now because she's a senior and a captain.
What do they bring to the table? Each of them.
Ava's just experienced, man. She's just got such a high motor. I don't care what you're doing. We could be playing dodgeball at practice, and she's going to go 150%, try and smash somebody in the face with a ball. And Emma doesn't quite have that motor, but she's a better shooter than her, and we're going to get her to get that motor. It's funny that all 4 sisters, I think it really helps all of them. Even Audie, who's a post player, they all play soccer, and it keeps it competitive with them because they're all competing out there. But the footwork for basketball is really good playing soccer. Yeah. And you look at a Saturday night's game. Zoe Fulsang, who's the senior, and Audie's the sophomore who starts. She was the only one that didn't score Saturday, Zoe. And she came in last night and led us in scoring.
Wow.
So it's always someone every night. And she let us know, Audie let us know that her sister didn't score on Saturday. So maybe there's a little drive there between the sisters too.
I love it. Coach, these girls off the court, because you mentioned some of them are related, but they all seem extremely close. And I know we've talked about it probably in the past, and it's cliche in this day and age when you say, you start talking about culture and those kind of things. It sounds cliche, but it's important. Your program and where you have it at, it's at such a good level in a good spot, but it's also the girls as well. Can you talk to that? Because they're competitors. They genuinely like each other. You can tell they like to give each other a hard time, but have fun. Talk about this group culturally or off the court wise, because you don't just happen to go to state if you're really, really talented. It helps, but you have to have that chemistry as well.
Yeah, totally true. And it's funny, 2 years, the senior leadership was 2 years ago was a lot louder than this group, but this group just kind of comes to play. If that makes sense. They're goofy, but they're not goofy like I've had teams in the past. So maybe that's why they're a little more focused, or the things are getting turned on right now within the season. But it's like culture is built from the kids. It's built from the youth programs up. These kids obviously play growing up together. And in a town like DeWitt, smaller town, they're not only playing basketball together, they're all playing soccer together, and they're all playing softball together in the summer. Most of our girls all play softball. We don't see them in the summer, right? So they're bonding all year round too. It could be good or bad, but they all play soccer. Like I said, they all go out and they're soccer. Like they all went and played tennis last year because they could, And I think that helps. I think that certainly helps too.
No, absolutely. Ron, before I let you go, we talked about next week, but what's the message now that the girls are, you mentioned finding a way to beat up each other, going over to Hawkeyes and all those kind of things. What's the message off the court? You'll talk X's and O's. You'll look at Norwalk. I understand all those kind of things, but you got a special group of seniors. Do you, I don't want to say harp on, but do you remind them that this is the last go around? Do you just want them playing free and not thinking about those kind of things? What's the mindset as you get you've been to state several times. What's the way you want to approach things?
Yeah, I think it's different group to group, but I think with this group, it's just kind of playing free and allowing them to play free. We put less constraints on them this year as the season's gone, because we've got a couple players that just have great basketball IQs, and that's led to other things. And we've like everybody does, we focus on one game at a time. So now it's Norwalk. They do a great job of focusing in practice every day, and if it gets a little tiring, we'll just call it. At this point in the season, we can cut it short. Let's get some shooting in, because we're not changing a whole lot. We're not going to throw anything new at them. They're such a good defensive team. We're not going to throw any junk defenses at them. And the biggest message is just enjoying it. That was the talk before the game last night. Look at the crowd. You guys, this is it, especially you seniors. And then for you underclassmen, do you want to do this again? Because look at this. This is fun. That's why you do it. And let's enjoy it. Now we get to go to state and try and do it one more night, 3 more nights.
I lied real fast to the community, because it is awesome up there. And I know last night's atmosphere is great, and you'll see them all coming up on Tuesday when you guys head to state once again. What's it mean to that community? You've been a lot of great places, and I'm not comparing and contrasting the places, but it's special up there. And I think the girls and the coaching staff notice it, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You look at other games and question how the stands are filled. It was packed last night. It was student section packed. A funny story that Levin from their team, Iowa, she plays at Iowa, and her sister's on the team.
Okay.
And her dad posted a tweet in the middle of the day that we have a hostile student section, so we're going to need our students' support down there. And it just kind of became a fun thing. I think they called him out at the end of the game, and he laughed, and it was a funny little moment at the game that just kind of high school sports and makes it fun.
No, absolutely. Coach, don't mess it up. I'm so impressed that after a tough night of basketball, you're in early, working your butt off, doing what you do at Palmer College. What time's pickleball?
It's 12:30 every day.
But that's why you say so young.
Don't tell your wife that.
No, geez, are you kidding me? She never talks to me. Are you kidding me? No, I'm kidding. Ron, enjoy it. Get ready for next week. Hopefully I can bug you a bunch of times next week. Go win a state championship, okay?
I appreciate it. I hope so.
Take care. Talk to you soon.
See you.
That is Ron O'Brien, head coach at Central DeWitt. The Sabers loaded once again. Really a fun group. We had the girls on several weeks ago when they won the MAC, and now they're back at it. Now looking to maybe win a state championship as well. And mind-boggling that they're a 6 seed. To the fact that they're 22-1 and they've played the schedule they played, and in the MAC, and played 5A schools and played Macoka and everything in between. Really, really surprised, but it's awesome. Norwalk round 1, everyone remembers that from last year. They made a buzzer beater at the half, and then they tie game late. They miss a 3, lands in the girl's lap. She puts it up and in at the buzzer, and they lose that game. So a little chance at revenge. And I love how Ron says we're going to dwell. We're gonna focus on that and move on. So next week will be awesome. If you're watching this in the central Iowa area, next week when it comes to the state tournaments, 2 straight weeks. The girls next week, the boys the week after that. So it should be some really fun, good basketball in Des Moines. And of course, we'll keep talking about it right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We got more to get to when we get back. A really, 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 really good friend of mine, Scott Weas. We call him Weasy, or if you listen to Tom Caker and I, OG Weasy, retired from photography at WQED yesterday. I want to talk a little bit about him, and then some of my favorite stories that I ever got to do were done well because of Weasy, and we'll talk about that and show you one of my favorites. I wanted to show one, and I went back and forth because there's a ton, because he's that good at what he does. But we'll show you one of those and talk a little Weasy when we get back. You're watching OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities, Wednesday, February 25th. Nearly March. March Madness is nearly here. It's been a fun show so far as we get ready for what is to be a great weekend as well. It's that time of year. Usually this time of year, I'm looking ahead back in my olden days of my other job, my old job, of Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, traveling, all those kind of things. And one guy I got to do a lot of traveling with at the station is Scott Weas. Scott Weas yesterday, after doing it for a long time at a high level, one of the best photographers, videographers, whatever you want to call it, best people you're ever going to meet, stepped down and called it a career in the local TV business. Weasy was an integral part of a lot of the stories that I got to do. The coverage of WQAD, we always joke that he was our executive producer because he was the person who helped us bounce ideas off him, figure out how we're going to cover things, all those kinds of things. When it came to the John Deere Classic, the 19th hole, the things that we did on the 19th hole, Weasy was a big, huge part of what we did each and every summer out of the John Deere Classic, and a big part of WQAD sports and what I got to do for so long. And so yesterday, one of the things we love to do was get a Polar Pop. So we met up, me, Cuff, and Weasy, and went and got a Polar Pop. Now here's the story behind the Polar Pops. There's a convenience store across the street from WQAD, but the Polar Pop is the styrofoam cup. It's different. It keeps it cold, and also it's a 10-minute trip there and a 10-minute trip back. So we would go on Polar Pop runs all the time, almost every day, at least 3 to 5 times a week. And since I've stepped down and started this, I'll still meet Weasy, and we'll meet up and go get a Polar Pop because it just gave us a chance. It was about the 44 ounces of, for me, Diet Mountain Dew, but also the companionship, the company, the complaining, the stories, all of those kind of things as well. So great chance to go do that one last time. We're going to keep doing it, but we shared a lot of stories in that car together. So it was a bunch of fun to get together with Weasy and do that one more time as he gets ready to do something different and a new chapter of his life as well. So, but as I mentioned, he is, when it came to a great friend, but when it came to a photographer and his knowledge of news and storytelling is second to none. And so a lot of the stories that I got to do feature story wise, I got to do with Weasy. Luckily, Andy McKay, others at WQAD would allow Scott and I to work a lot together, and we did so many fun stories together, so many good stories together. And I really mean this. The reason they end up being good was because of Weasy. The visual skill that he had was one thing, and that was great. But but it's also I would just get this huge story and I'd be all over the place with it, and he would help me narrow it down and focus on what we needed to get to. So we did so many. We did a story on Brock Harding getting up early in the morning and working out, which was awesome. When Owen Freeman transferred to Moline, we did a story with the both of those guys from early in the morning in the gym to practice to video games. At school, we went everywhere with them. It was a blast. So many different aspects and angles that we did with so many athletes over the years. One of my favorites came back in 2019. We all know and love Brett Greenwood. Pat Anger had just gotten out of the NFL, and he was getting doing life outside of football. And then you had Joe Conklin, and the three of them were teammates, Brett and Joe and Pat at Iowa, and I would go and visit them every once in a while because they worked out and helped with Brett a couple times a week. And I remember seeing it going, this is an awesome story. And so with the permission of the Greenwoods, they allowed us to tell the story of those three knuckleheads, and then Matt Rokes as well, who was an integral part of everything. And we got to tell you that story. One of my favorite stories I've ever gotten to tell. Yes, it was a personal story for me knowing Brett and Pat and Joe and Matt so well, but Weasy did an amazing job with his story as well. And so many times I would just write in Nat or put something in, and he hit everything perfectly. So I wanted to share that with you guys today, and look back at it back in 2019. A really fun story and done by the great Scott Weas. Take a look at.
Go for it, buddy.
It's a familiar sight at the TBK Sports Complex.
Stay forward.
Three former Hawkeyes.
Hey, we're going to walk good today, all right? You got to stay forward, though.
Together again.
How you feeling, dude?
Teammates in a much different,
good job, dude,
much more important game of life. Brett Greenwood made quite an impact on the Iowa football program in the late 2000s.
Brett was a guy who was just thoroughly prepared for every situation, very steady, kind of analytical, just what you'd like from a free safety.
He was serious about being a good football player, mature beyond his years.
Just months after completing an All-Big Ten career at Iowa, Greenwood's life would drastically change.
We were at Iowa State.
So I was standing right at the corner of, you come down the hallway, at the hotel that we stay in when we play at Iowa State.
It was just, I think all of us were at a loss for, we didn't know what to think. So, I remember it distinctly.
So anytime that I go through that area of the hotel, I remember that phone call. The time you won't forget.
While working out at Pleasant Valley, Brett suffered a heart arrhythmia, causing his heart to stop.
When I had first heard about it, I heard that Brett passed away.
So that was terrible to hear. And it's something I'll always remember.
That was one of the most gut-wrenching moments of my life, followed by maybe a couple minutes later learning that, no, he was still alive.
It just sucked.
It's this guy that you look up to, he's bigger than life, and then here he is laying in a hospital bed, and there's a whole team of people trying to keep him going.
Greenwood spent 26 days in a coma.
Everybody was concerned that if Brett was to make it through, would it be Brett? Would we continue to see the same personality, that warrior mentality? Sure enough, there it was.
That same Brett was back, but his long road to recovery had just started. His physical therapist, Matt Rokes, knew he needed some help.
Is there anybody we can call? And I know Pat just got back. Will he come in?
I was transitioning, from being done with football.
So I called him on a Monday afternoon.
Can you help me out? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely.
You had two guys that were faced with adversity and faced with a challenge, and where did they go? Rather than retreat, and disengage, they turned towards one another. So Brett absolutely benefited from Pat's support, but it came at a really remarkable time that Pat needed it as well.
I was lost, and with Brett, I had that thing, and being around him and being a part of that has been so good to me.
Good, Brett. Perfect.
In 2015, Brett made his return to Kinnick, leading his Hawkeyes onto the field once again.
Doing awesome, Brett.
With his teammate right by his side.
It's one of the more special moments in, Iowa football history.
6. There we go. 3. Come on.
But that night at Kinnick was just the start. The work continues.
Oh, yeah.
With 2 teammates.
If you don't rock that out, Doyle's going to see this.
At Brent's side.
Realizing how special this time is that we have on this planet and how special the relationships are.
You're going to have a yoga butt in no time, Brent. It's like being around a team again. And you miss that when you're done. And you got Brett who's pushing us all through and holding us together. You know, it's truly special. $10 you punch Matt in the face today on camera.
Mm-hmm. I'll double it.
Pat and Joe can do that. And it's awesome to see because they don't treat Brett with kid gloves.
You got good hands now, man. You could never catch before. That's why they put you at DB.
When you see, 3 grown men that have that kind of shared history and are willing to, in a very natural, organic way, push one another, like that's what it's all about.
Strong, full hand.
So on Wednesdays and Fridays, you'll find this group back at work, like nothing has changed.
It just feels like a couple old buddies working out again, and we're getting after it.
This ain't assumption or PV. We actually do our reps here.
Brett's a part of our family. It's really become that, and it's if I'm not able to be there, or Joe or Pat, they're always asking right after we get done how to go today.
Flat as a board. 15 reps. If you were tough, you do 16. There's 1. Do 16. This is easy. I mean, even when he played, he had that. Like, I knew if he was back there, I was good. When we were playing, I knew if he was behind me, let's go. I had a shot, and still to this day, I leave here and I'm ready to go. All the way through. Good job. Hey, great day, man. Great day. Plant your feet and stand tall and get a rest. Good job.
A lot of fun to look back at that. Scott Weas, the videographer, the photographer for that story. It was 2019, and you can obviously the story itself is an awesome story, but the gnats and all these things that are inside baseball when it comes to angles and 2 cameras and all those kind of things. One of the reasons why Scott Weas was and is the best of the best. So, and it was also good to see Pat with hair. I mean, I think that was fun too. Back in the day, Pat actually had hair as well. So anyways, congratulations, Weasy. You're going to be on the show real soon. I'm going to get you on here. And those were the best things, is that Weasy and I would always argue about sports, and sometimes argue about sports very loudly. So we need to do some more of that on this show as well. So hopefully we can convince him to join us one of these times real soon. I want to thank our guests today. It was a blast. Tyler Tachman joined us. A big game in Iowa City tonight, Iowa and Ohio State. And he kind of talked about these last 4 games and almost kind of separated 2 and 2, where you have 2 opportunities to win against Ohio State and Penn State on the road. Take advantage of that, because the last 2 games, nothing is given. Michigan at home, and then going on the road to Nebraska, 2 extremely tough basketball games. So big game tonight, Carver Hawkeye Arena, 8 p.m. start. We're going to be up there. So we'll have much more on it tomorrow. Jess Settles will join the show tomorrow as well. Also, Jake Brand will join the show tomorrow, and we'll keep an eye on the high school side of things with a lot of great games tonight. Moline United Township going head-to-head. Newman and Alman, watch out for the Pioneers tonight. A really good semifinal regional game at Don Morris Gym. So that and a bunch more we'll get to tomorrow. Also on the show today, we want to thank Lexi Demott, the Galesburg girls basketball coach. They are in the Sweet 16. An amazing game last night. So they beat Morton and Metamora back-to-back. Now they get Washington at home on Thursday. We'll keep an eye on the Silver Streak. So thank you for Lexi. If you missed that, go back and check it out. The Central DeWitt Sabers back to state once again. Ron O'Brien on the show. Go check that out as well. And then we talked a little bit about my buddy Weasy. So other than that, we had we will have a full show tomorrow, full show on Friday as well. No show Monday. For Alman people, Quad Cityans in general watching this, Father Marabelli's visitation, Rosary is 12:30 on Sunday, and then at Don Morris Gym, and then the visitation is from 1 to 6. I think it's going to be from 1 to midnight. The amount of people that are going to be there for that, and then the funeral at Sacred Heart in Moline. at 11 a.m. on Monday. No school for Alleman on Monday, so I guarantee I'll be partaking or be at that funeral. So no show on Monday. We'll get rocking and rolling again on Tuesday as well. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch the show, whether you're listening to it, whether you're on YouTube, X, however you are taking the show in. We appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, like, all those kind of things, and we will be back with a brand new episode of OTA coming up tomorrow. Have a great night, Quad Cities.